At number 1. While the Soul Calibur franchise has so many entries so far that are beloved, such as Soul Calibur 2 and 4, Soul Calibur 3 is actually the one most slept entry in its series. Introducing a staple to the series in character creation, this game greatly expanded upon the size of the roster when actually compared to its previous entry, while at the same time also maintaining the solid 3D weapon-based fighting the franchise is known for. Additionally, Soul Calibur 3 actually had a pretty unique RPG-styled single player to it, which you probably remember going by Chronicles of the Souled, and believe it or not, is actually one of the most flashed out single player modes that any fighting game have ever come up with. Originally started as a My Little Pony fan game, them's Fighting Hers is a surprisingly polished 2D fighter in case you're unfamiliar with. Now this game's roster may be kind of off-putting for some, but the game features one of the best online lobby systems of any fighting game on the market today. Additionally, actually besides toting a solid core gameplay, them's Fighting Hers has a pretty unique dynamic music system that will actually change the instrumentation of a song like based on the current state of a fight. Basically one of this game's best additions. Released in 2017, Fantasy Strike on the other hand is a somewhat simplistic fighting game. It basically goes with these long-ass combos and complexity only in order to allow newcomers to the genre to better understand fighting game fundamentals per se. Putting an emphasis on spacing, footsies, and fundamentals, Fantasy Strike I would say is particularly, without a doubt, one of the easiest fighting games for a newcomer to pick up and learn, and also for the old veterans to enjoy for the rest of your life. Facts. Street Fighter, on the other hand, has largely been regarded as one of the premier 2D fighting franchises of all time, and actually games like Street Fighter 2 and 4 went on and influenced the genre as a whole. The short-lived Street Fighter EX series of the late 90s, however, was basically the first major attempt to bring the series into the third dimension, and so the third entry in the sub-series, then Street Fighter X3, goes on and puts an even larger focus on combos, while actually experimenting with the idea of tag team battles. Come to notice, believe it or not, this entry is the whole reason Street Fighter games keep going on pretty good, even until today. While pretty niche, the Melty Blood series actually started in 2002 and pretty much today has a dedicated fan base that is willing to play the game anywhere basically, pretty much regardless if it's supported by major events. Melty Blood here, for those of you actually unfamiliar, which is a PC fighter only, is actually regarded for its combo systems as well as its high risk, high reward defense options which brings to the table, and actually overall the mishmash of all these elements combined together creates a very dynamic gameplay, which is pretty much basically what this game's known for. Rivals of Aether is, without a doubt, one of the most finely tuned games in the platform fighter subgenre outside of Super Smash Bros. Franchise. This game actually puts a major focus on movement and each character's positioning on the stage, just like Super Smash Bros., as basically every player attempts to knock their opponents off the screen. And well, even while this game features a lot of original characters, it actually goes and totes tons of other interesting guest characters like Shovel Knight itself, Ori from its franchise, and even Chrono from, Chrono Trigger, but more. I mean, way more. Fire Emblem, just you name it. You know, Arc System Works is one of the most consistent fighting game developers, actually primarily known for the work on the series such as Guilty Gear games, BlazBlue, and then also the Dragon Ball Z. BlazBlue Cross Tag Team Battle, however, is a team-based fighter that shares a great deal in common with the Marvel vs. Capcom series, generally toting a lot of flashy combat and characters from a lot of different franchises. Like for example, of course, from the BlazBlue series itself, Persona games, On the Night in Birth games, and even RWBY, which is still not something you'd go for. You also want to know, this game goes and features this universal command input that makes the game pretty easy to learn, but actually really hard to master. All the way back, actually since the 90s, the Samurai Showdown franchise has been one of the most underrated series in the fighting game genre, and that's a fact. Samurai Showdown's a weapon-based 2D fighter that pretty much rewards you with a lot of high-risk, high-reward attacks that can basically erase huge chunks of a fighter's life bar while leaving the character quite vulnerable on a whiff. Actually, because of its weapon-based nature of a fighting game. It's personally one of my own favorite games. I really like this one. And while the series dates back to 1993, the most recent entry in the series is still pretty much holding the torch and also maintaining the gameplay the franchise is known for. I think it's fair to say if you didn't give it a shot yet, I actually recommend this one. Originally released in 2012, On the Ninth in Birth is one of the most underappreciated fighting game franchises of the past possibly 10 years. Like Melty Blood, which we mentioned earlier, this game features a great blend of footsies and fundamentals, while allowing players to use their resources in order to expand combos and deal even more damage. And well, while this game's 3-button combat may make it appear simple at first glance, but On the Ninth in Birth has a ton of unique mechanics that actually provide its combat with some really additional depth. I would say it's a pretty unique fighting game. And finally, with a team-based gameplay inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Skullgirls is one of the indie fighting games that features some really gorgeous animated hand-drawn characters. Utilizing a 6-button fighting system, this game uniquely allows players to choose whether if they want to control just one character or a team of 2 or even 3 characters at the same time, providing players with the ability to play basically a few ways. To be perfectly honest, between its fine-tuned gameplay, some really good netcode, and the fine visuals it goes with, I would say the future looks pretty bright for Skullgirls and what it yet has to offer.